Hi, friend. Niklas here from Your Audio Solutions. Hope you are doing well and welcome to today's episode. On the show today, we have Ameen Abdulla, and he is the founder and CEO of Soundwhale, which is a remote collaboration app that you can use with Pro Tools or your favorite DAW. Amin comes from a background in post production and is also a musician with an interest in modular synthesis. So it was quite fun talking to Amin about synthesis and modular synthesizers and geek out about that a bit. That was quite enjoyable. It was really interesting talking to Amin about his journey from guitar playing to synthesizers to finding clients for his post production company, building Soundwhale and moving to Kiev, marketing and dealing with problems, technology, and much, much more. And I hope you're going to enjoy this conversation as much as I like having it. Now, do you want the exclusive access to interviews before the public? Do you want to be a part of the conversation? Do you want to be able to ask questions to the people that inspire you? Then all you have to do is to join the Audio Tribe. And it's free, of course. There's a link to it in the description below. Just enter your name and email address and you have joined the Audio Tribe. It's as simple as that, and I'd love to see you join. Also, feel free to subscribe to the YouTube channel or Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you are consuming this show. But that's it. Let's get into the conversation with Ameen Abdulla from Soundwhale. But yeah, I mean, first of all, yeah, thanks for taking your time. And it's going to be awesome talking to you. So yeah, welcome to the podcast or the show.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. I was a bit stalky before, or maybe not stalky, but I was trying to find your Facebook page. And just to see, what's going on.
Yeah.
And I think I found your Facebook page. And do you have this wall? What's the photo? Not the profile picture, but
with the synthesizer.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, oh damn, are you into synthesizers as well? Or
oh my gosh, yeah. That actually most of my time not working is spent reading about them or playing them, and it's an addiction, man. It's
yeah, awesome.
it's like this wormhole that you can just totally get lost into once you get in, because the depth of these machines is just incredible, and what you can do with them.
Mm-hmm.
And they're made by, I don't know how much you know about modular synths, but they're made by these fairly small companies that have all these specific functions when they create these things. So a lot of them go really, really deep. And some of them don't do exactly what you want, so you need to replace it at a certain time, make sure it fits in your bot. I mean, it's just...
Yeah, I mean, definitely. I mean, I just got started with modular-ish. Like on the back of me here, have just like it's not a modular system whatsoever, but it's a Korg MS-20. The
MS-20, of course. Yeah, classic, man.
New one, yeah, and some dope for a sequencer. So that's my tiny rig.
Okay, yeah, it's very nice, man. Even the dope for stuff, like you can get really intricate with those sequencers,
Exactly. I mean, I got the CVC rack, I think it's called, right?
Yeah, I think, is that the one that has some of the preset modules inside of it, or is it the...
that's just the software. It's a software.
Oh, yeah.
You can use
you can use for patching and all that, yeah?
Yeah, you can just
right. That's right.
It's like modules of... I'm not so too good with the brands, but like the math.
The make noise, the maths.
Yeah, I think so. And there's some other one that is awesome. I lost the name. It has like green and pink knobs, blue knobs sometimes. I'm sure you know which one I mean.
Mutable Instruments.
Yeah, exactly.
Company, right?
Yeah.
They're very. They have all this look. The look just part of it's like how the colors and all this stuff.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, modular synths is awesome, man.
Yeah.
I think
I actually went. I was in London Modular not too long ago.
Oh, what's that?
London Modular, it's somewhere. It's a little, maybe about an hour outside of the city. But it's a small, tiny little shop where they get all these products from all these different companies, and you can just go there and play around and order some things. But most people just go and play around.
Yeah, I can imagine.
It's really cool stuff. Yeah.
I mean, it is really cool. I mean, I think because I know you're an engineer as well, like sound engineer.
Yeah.
I mean, so that's also why I think I gravitated towards modular, because it is you have to think a bit, before you play, so to speak. You have to know all the steps.
I know, and that's the frustrating part, yet the
Yeah.
satisfying part as well. Because once you have to think, you usually just want to just go, and I think the one thing, the departure you have from being an engineer, is that we live in Pro Tools, and software. So having something that's so disposable and analog is kind of like a release. You don't want to live inside of something that you can like edit all the time. You just want to do something, make something, and sometimes throw it away.
Exactly. Yeah, it's awesome, man. So, I mean, do you have a big rig, or what's your situation?
It's mid-sized, like a case, one of those IntelliGel cases. It's
Right.
like the 104 3U. So I've got
Right.
a few modules in there,
Right.
but it's a nice little travel setup.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So it's and I've got a few that I'll swap out here and there. Like the
Cool.
mats is one that I like that. For creating and recording and stuff. But sometimes for live, I'll have like a smaller, like one of the stages, the mutable instrument stages, where you can just
Right.
like choose your
Right.
decays and attacks and stuff like that. So
Cool. Also, do you do live shows with modular synths as well?
I'm trying, man, but I'm not at that point yet. It's
Right. Right.
it's you constantly, I feel like, have to swap something out here and there until you get something perfect, and then it's not perfect for like 5 minutes, and then
Yeah.
But yeah, it's something I certainly want to do.
Awesome,
Is
man.
the more live performance like that.
But have you ever tried the Teenage Engineering OP1? I think it's called.
No, but just today I ordered an OPZ.
Oh yeah, the new one,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, and
Cool.
I think it's about a year old. And I see the thing that I find with some of the modular sequencers is that, they're really cool and they do these specific things, but sometimes you just want to play something, when you're feeling creative and have that record and loop. And it's difficult to find one thing that does that without being a step sequencer or having two little steps or something like that. So the OPZ seemed like a pretty nice little solution, and it's super small. It fits in your pocket, really light.
Right.
So
But that's cool. I mean, that one, that's the one. Yeah, it is the next one after OP1, right?
yeah,
But it's only gray, right? Or
it's only gray, and it's I think it's more geared towards sequencing
ah,
and not so many. I think it has some sampling in it,
right,
but not so robust as the OP1.
right.
Yeah,
Cool, man. Are you
yeah, man.
familiar with the YouTuber called Andrew Huang?
Oh, of course, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, he has. I love that four producers, one sample.
Oh yeah, I
Show.
haven't really got into
It's
looking at that.
awesome.
Right.
It's so interesting. I mean, most of them are in Ableton Live, but they'll pull out like different, modular synths and things like that. And just, you'll see these videos and see all this arsenal of all these producers and what they use and their tools and how like unbelievably creative they are with this one sample that they're using. And, I mean, of course they'll add different elements to it, but they'll chop it up, pitch it down, and make it sound completely like different. It's pretty cool. And the best part about it is how different their songs are and how their style comes into it. It's cool. You should check it out.
I
It's
will actually. I will check it out.
very cool. Yeah.
But so, how did you get into the modular world then, and Andrew Huang and those guys?
I mean, man, like I think it was just I wanted to put my guitar down for a minute and try. I always like synthesizers and electronic music, and when I heard the sound of some of these modular synths and how good they sound, like, oh, they're all analog. Well, not all of them are analog, but even the digital ones sound really, really good. And I think I've always been attracted to things that are really small and neat looking and shiny. And so when I saw this, I can make a suitcase with these 30 different pieces. I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. And I could take it around with me. It's pretty light. And so I was attracted to that mainly. And then, I think the flexibility of it, both the flexibility of swapping out different pieces, but also the limitation of what you have and try to create something with, all these pieces and the particular sounds you can get was very appealing, because when you're living in like software, you could do anything, copy paste this and that. But with modular, as you said, you got to think.
Exactly.
And that was that. I think that was the most appealing for me, like the limitation of what you have not being able to do with what you do in digital world. So
makes sense. I mean, it sounds very similar to what I got into it. It was also because trying something else than the guitar for a bit. I find myself stuck in a pattern sometimes.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Is the same for you, or?
Totally. And I mean, I think I don't even know how to play my guitar anymore, to be honest with you. It's been, like when I left for, development of the software, I left. And so at that point I was just trying to, I picked up some modular pieces in Europe and started to play around with them there too. And I think coming back to my studio recently, I just didn't really want to pick the guitar up because first of all, my fingers were hurting. I don't want to get back into it.
Right.
But yeah, I got into a rut for sure.
Yeah.
Like picking it up, doing the same thing, and it's nice to go back after a certain time too. So,
But what was your style then, if that makes sense? Like, what music did you gravitate to playing?
I mean, I grew up playing in like rock bands
Right.
and things like that. So I think by default, like a certain element of that, sticks with you and is very impressionable when you're young. So you gravitate just naturally towards something like that. But I would at a certain point say I don't want to play the guitar and say you come play the guitar to different people I knew, and so the style would change very easily, and I could like do some production, add some synthesizers, maybe play a little guitar on top of it, just because I wanted to break my own patterns in that way. So, but yeah, I think more rock and
Cool.
like louder stuff.
So who were some of the bands you were listening to?
Oh man, growing up, like I really liked, and plus the exposure here was a little bit less being in Charleston. We would only see certain things that would come through here that were more commercial sounding or, not so much niche. But I loved listening to like Fugazi and like
Cool.
noisy rock and stuff like that. That's my, really what I still love that kind of stuff. And like even, more intricate rock like Tool, I loved a lot, growing up listening to that kind of stuff. So just stuff that was a little bit more than, thought provoking or like you really had to think, oh, that's interesting,
Yeah. Awesome, man. Do
I
you
get
like
really-
Tool's new record, or what's your view?
Is that out? I haven't heard it yet, actually, because I knew
think-
people had been waiting for years, and then I was like, I keep checking in after like a couple months. Did it,
Wow.
get
I think it
released?
came out last year, actually.
Oh, did it? Okay,
Yeah.
okay. I
If I'm
haven't.
not wrong, I'm pretty sure it was last year.
Oh, really?
I think
Yeah,
so.
I
mean,
missed that.
there's probably some fan who can correct me, but
Yeah.
but I mean, Tool is a cool band. Some band I like is also A Perfect Circle with the singer, forgot his name.
Yeah.
Leonard. Yeah, they're awesome, man.
That was they James Iha was playing from Smashing Pumpkins initially when they started, I remember. But yeah,
Right.
I remember, yeah. That's a long time ago I heard that band actually. Yeah. Are they still playing? Does he still, like
I think that there was a record coming out also maybe not last year, but the year before maybe.
not too long ago? Okay.
Yeah, which was okay, but I like the
Yeah.
a 13th Step. That's the killer one. But
Oh, okay.
That's from
Okay.
early 2000, but that was awesome.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm so same stuff, man. Yeah.
Yeah,
I like
cool.
that kind of stuff. Yeah.
I mean, but so obviously you're a musician, engineer, but did you work in film? Was that your craft for a while, or what was?
Yeah, that's my main craft. Like that's kind of where I gravitated towards once. I had friends in film making indie films and things like that when I just graduated college, and I had this MPC 2000 XL, which I thought was the greatest thing in the world. That big clunky thing with the scuzzy hard drive. So I would
Right.
lug that around with me.
Yeah.
And I did that. I was working with some hip hop artists in the late 90s. And so we would be making beats and doing samples and stuff. And so I had moved to Chicago after I'd graduated college, like early 2000s. And, I had this like MIDI production, the MPC and some software, Cool Edit Pro, and a few things like that. So my friends would send me these films that they were working on, like short films and stuff. So I would try to get the music going and then like press play on both devices and try to sync it up like that. And I was like, wow, like once you make something like a piece of music to picture, it's quite addictive too. You really can impact the way it feels. Even though I wasn't any good, it was still something changed.
Right.
So with that, like I got more into, picture and also getting to know Pro Tools a little bit more at that point and doing editing. I came from like the kind of the school of thought where like when digital came out, I wanted to do as much as possible with it because coming from analog, you couldn't do really anything with once something's recorded. Like I've cut tape a few times and that wasn't so much fun.
Right.
So, copy paste, like making beats like this. So I got pretty good with editing and, cutting up voices. And like I used to listen to a lot of stuff on Warp Records, where you're based. Like I think, like Prefuse 73, Aphex Twin, like that kind of
Right.
stuff. And I was like, how are they doing this?
Mm.
This is pretty cool. So coming from that, like I got pretty good with editing, and then also the interest with picture just got me into that mode where, oh, editing sound for picture, you need to be very fast and very good, and you can also have somewhat of a stable job
Right.
in this. So I ended up kind of liking that, and then going into like a post production path. Like I went to audio school.
Oh yeah. Which one?
I went to IPR in Minneapolis.
Right. Never heard about that one.
Kind of like Full Sail,
Right.
it's they do like the Pro Tools expert certifications and really go pretty deep into that. So that's when I learned that, oh, post production electronic music, it's post, it's very similar. So I thought, okay, what path can I really take where I can justify buying all this gear and write it off? It's
Right.
post production. So it was kind of cool. Like, and once you get really fast with engineering or editing, I guess you can cut records really fast too. You can record and mix. So it was all in the same train of thought. So
Awesome.
yeah.
I mean, but so was it straight from school to the post production studio, or did you also try to get into music, like just the recording studio for music?
Actually, at that point, like that was my second degree. I got my first degree in business
Right. Cool.
from Indiana University. So and that was like, your parents saying you better do something that blah blah, fallback type thing. So I did business, and then after that, I was like, I worked actually in IT for a minute, doing some technical work, and then I thought, okay, it's enough time. Saved up enough money to go back to audio school, and at that point, I was pretty focused in doing post production. So yeah, it was just like going from school, like had an internship during school, and then working at a studio, and then working with real clients, and then doing some work on my own, bouncing around between a few studios.
Right.
Then you get once it clicks for you, you get really, like any trade, you get really good at it and really fast. So, but yeah, I certainly had to have real world work experience,
Right.
and nothing is like having that client behind you for the first time when you're unprepared to prepare you for the rest of your life. You remember that. It's actually like one or two moments where like, oh man, I'm botching this completely, and they need this by noon, and it's like 11:30.
Yeah, exactly.
You need that. You
Yeah.
certainly need that. I mean, how can you work and be comfortable?
Exactly.
So.
But it's perfect that you have the business background too. I mean, because just looking at people who are, or who just want to make, who, let's say, just want to mix, or they just want to record, and they just want to be a producer, blah blah blah, but they don't have any business skills. That's the people who usually, I mean, don't make it. I mean, make it is a maybe too vague of a word, because it can mean a lot, but you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think, I mean, did you see a benefit of having a business background?
Yeah, I mean, it certainly trains you how to talk to people and look at the big picture of certain things, and I think, yeah, that was good. But working in the studio, like for film companies and production companies, that was, I would think, more of the business training
Right.
that I actually got. But I certainly had a background of business since I was young, kind of trying stuff on my own, that kind of thing where you have that like urge to go do stuff. And I think that kind of pushed me to have the studio. I had a studio set up in Minneapolis too, where I was doing a lot of freelance and a lot of clients coming directly to the office. So that kind of urge certainly came from the background, I think.
Nice. But what was your process of growing your client base? Like, how did you get clients coming?
Oh man, it was. I decided that I wanted to go off on my own right before the recession hit. Actually, so it was not good.
Right.
This is like 2008, ended like fall, and I was doing really well. Clients liked me and stuff. But then I thought, okay, I have one or two. Let me see what I can do. And it was tough. It was certainly tough at that point. But eventually, like, it will come. And especially, I think a good lesson is starting at a really down point in the economy, where once the economy grows, it just naturally will take it with you. And that's how, that actually works with economics. Like you put your name out there, but people can't afford it. And then when they can, they'll call you. So that's kind of what happened in that way. So and then you grow into it, like you'll get better and better and better. And sound engineering and sound design is something where I think what's so appealing about it is that you're never the best that you can be. There's always room for improvement, and even the best, like you'll think, oh, he's the best. Well, ask him, or
Yeah,
ask her, she will say like, oh, there's always something.
exactly.
So it's very challenging.
But so going back to the client thing, so
Mm.
did you reach out to people online or did you go out or
It was,
ads maybe?
it,
No?
no, it was just word of mouth,
Right.
all word of mouth.
Right.
Yeah. Because, reaching out by phone, and I tried that never worked. It's somebody hearing of somebody, or you're meeting people. Like I had some friends in advertising, and that's how that happened. Like people would recommend you and say, hey, something fell through, then you get the call, right? So let's see what you can do. And then you come in as a freelancer, and you're certainly cheaper. And then they might call you again, and then that's how it kind of builds up.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Right. That makes
Yeah.
sense, man. I guess you just
Yeah.
have to have patience when you
Oh yeah.
do that.
Yeah, you got to
Right.
be ready to, or some savings, or be ready to take a hit when you start. Like it's not magic, and it takes time and patience and a lot of hard work.
Yeah. I mean, hard work is also a really funny word. Because sometimes I'm like, what is hard work? You
Mhm.
know, what is hard work for you?
I mean, more patience.
Right, right,
I
right,
think, and hard work means like I've never missed a deadline,
right,
and I
right, right.
think I think most people, I would like to think most people work like that, but you'd be surprised. Some people, there's a mix they need and they're not ready, or with any kind of trade. So with that, like I would, hard work means like you don't stop until
Right,
it's the best that it can be, that you think it, that
right,
you can make it. So.
right, right, right. But I was reading this really interesting book by someone. I forgot his name. He's a really famous marketing guy. I think he's bald. He has some colorful glasses. Seth Godin, I think. Is that him?
Oh, okay. Yeah.
You
I don't
familiar with
know.
him or?
Yeah. No, no.
Right, right, right. He has this book about when to quit, essentially.
Mm.
So he's basically talking about, if there's a dip, many people go through a dip, like you said,
Mhm.
recession, there's a dip, but then it
Mhm.
obviously goes back. But then it's also like a cul-de-sac where it's like there's just a dead end. And
Mhm.
if you're dead end, you should quit.
Mhm.
Just out of interest, have you ever thought to yourself like, oh, should I quit, or is this just a slow time? Have you been in a situation or like that?
I mean, I've never really seen it like that. It's always some kind of a transgression, or like, step to another thing. It's
Right.
not like, should I quit, but what should I do next?
Mm-hmm.
And if you think, should I quit, it's never because, for me anyway, it's never been because I can't achieve something, because if I can't, I will work hard even if I'm not getting paid, just to see if I can personally achieve that. It's like a challenge you set for yourself, but
Yeah.
usually it's like, what's next?
Right.
What's the next thing? Like, how can I grow from this type of thing? And sometimes it could be, when people say they quit, I think it goes both ways too, because usually when they say that, they have some plan in mind, or some achievement, or productivity would come from the next phase for them, I think.
Yeah. But what was the transition for, Soundwhale and stuff? Was that, yeah, what led to that starting Soundwhale essentially?
I mean, that it's all in the same wheelhouse, it's
Right.
all in the same, like, audio post production. It came from really frustration of not being able to work with clients on, I'm in Minneapolis, so I had clients on both coasts. And it was a point where, those studios would want to go to somebody local, because there's some, with audio, you need to be in the same room with somebody, especially with doing post production, because it can take a long time just to get mixed notes, and then, did that work? Is that what you were talking about?
Right,
Type of
right.
thing. So with that waste of time, nobody wanted to work remotely at that point. It was quite frustrating, and there were some solutions that were quite expensive or a little bit complicated. So we tried a few things, and I was like, I had this idea for a while, even before I worked at the place that I was working, and I was
Right.
thinking, and then with the experience you get with the workflow, you know exactly how to create it. So at that point, I thought, okay, I could take a hiatus from the studio for a month, maybe 3. And so I talked to the owners where I was working, and they're like, yeah, no problem. And then after a month, after development started, I was like, wow, I need to be here with these developers. They have no idea what's going on, man.
Right.
So that just turned into indefinitely. And I mean, that month turned into a year and a half. of being with them constantly every day, like 12 hours, seeing if it worked out like that. But yeah, it came from the same thing. So I still like to engineer and mix and record. I don't think that'll ever go away from me.
Sure. Yeah.
But I'm not doing it as much for TV and film because Soundwhale is just so consuming.
Yeah.
So we're really trying to make a push for it. But you still need to be up, with all the new tools and that kind of stuff. So that part will never change, I
Right.
think.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
But I mean, talk us through that period when you decide to take a hiatus, and what was those first few months like?
Frustrating, man. Like especially when you're working with somebody that's saying, "Oh, this will be done next month."
Right.
And then you start to learn. Then you start to look at the code, and I have a background in coding and stuff. So then I got more involved, and I took over the project, started managing the project, and working directly with the teams. I think we had at one point there was like 16 developers working on this thing, which can be a good and bad thing if you have too many cooks in the kitchen too, So we had to scale it down, and then I had to control everything.
Right.
But yeah, that first few months was just like wishful thinking, man. It's just like, yeah, it's going to be done and all this, but every decision you cannot assume. Every decision needs to be clear, and every small task needs to be explained in 10 different ways. And I was in Kiev, in Ukraine, where nobody spoke English too.
Right.
Just a couple of the guys. So that was something too. You really have to explain things, show them, take Pro Tools, take the software and say, okay, this is what I need, and show them, like, draw out charts and flow diagrams and all this stuff.
How come you were in Kiev, by the way?
That's another story. So I was working with this consultant in New York. Actually, no, he was in Boston, but he introduced me to a team in, actually, they took it everywhere. I mean, they took it to all different places.
Right.
And people were saying, no, we don't want to develop it. It's too innovative. We can't guarantee results, all this kind of stuff. They were realistic. But this guy in New York who had this company said, oh, I could do this. And then, and in the end, they couldn't really do it either. So they said, why don't you work directly with the developers that we've hired in Kiev? I'm like, what?
Right.
So actually, the guy initially that I worked with in New York, he's a good friend of mine now. So we're still in touch. He moved back to Kiev. He was actually Ukrainian. So then every time I go back, I visit him. But yeah, so he put me in touch with these guys, and and like any team, you have to see who's good, who's not, scale it down. But I ended up leaving that company and having my own developers at this point, which were actually there as well. So
right.
And what I learned about Kiev and Ukraine is, like, it's a very like, you get really honest people working for you generally, but you have to, like every place, you have to see, some people are not. So, but really hardworking people, generally, like, strong mathematics backgrounds, physics, and all this kind of stuff. So, and the guys that I have on my team now, they never say no.
Right.
It's always like, the question is when.
Right.
So,
that's good.
so yeah, it's on that way, and I love that city, man. I go there and spend summers there when I can. Obviously, not this summer, but
yeah.
It's a great city.
Yeah, I think I've been there. No, I haven't actually. Yeah. It's a place to go to, though, definitely.
Oh, and I mean, amazing food, culture, and people are great. It's beautiful. Like, I would spend every day that I could, or at least every weekend, in some different church or super old, structure, just walking around. It was kind of surreal, man. The beauty of that place. It's a really good environment to be working in, I think, because it was a nice release and relief to leave.
Cool.
Leave the office. So
yeah. But yeah, take us back to those months, when you did start out, because I can imagine it must be, this is what I want to do, or maybe you didn't have any customers then. I don't know, but how do you? What's my question? I guess my question is, how do you know to keep pushing even though you don't know what the outcome is? I guess because how it must have been. I guess
I'm really stubborn.
Yeah.
I don't. When something is possible, you don't want to quit until you see some sense of some proof of concept, I guess. And to be honest, like, the proof of concept came before I went to Kiev. Right. So these developers were working, and I saw what could be done, but it's not done in the way and in the workflow that you need. right? So once you see the tech is there, you can obviously it all changed when I got there, but you know that it's possible, and it was quite stressful, to be honest, because you're spending a lot of money and you have a lot of people working for you, and they have different schedules, sometimes vacations, all this, and you need this done, and it was really tough, man. It was a day by day type thing, and it hardens you a little bit, and especially by the time winter comes around, it's like depressing, man.
Wow.
I hadn't been home in a year and a half, but I think one thing that's interesting about it is that, okay, yeah, you're patient, but two, you think you're going to leave much sooner than you're actually going to leave. So
Yeah,
that's
yeah, yeah.
kind of the sense where, okay, you're motivated by the actual work that you see happening and the progress that you see. You're like, okay, it's closer, it's closer, it's closer. Let's push. And then you research different solutions and you say, okay, still nothing is there that is comparable to what you're trying to achieve. So that's certainly motivating in its own sense. And then, yeah, it's just, I think the work itself really pushed you to stay,
Nice.
and in that kind of a certain circumstance. So
Yeah. I mean, how do you stay focused, in those times? Are you able to just zero in on that's the goal? I don't really care what's happening around me.
I mean, there weren't any distractions.
Right,
That's
right.
all it was,
Right,
so
yeah.
there's no other choice but to focus. And then the challenge of it keeps you more focused because it stresses you out more. Like there's so many things lost in translation. Like you ask for something and it's completely different than what you ask for, right?
Right.
So then that motivates you to develop the relationship and communication more. So there's so many other challenges than the work,
Sure,
right?
sure, yeah.
So that whole, like, you have to be laser, man. You have to be really focused in that kind of a way. And I've always had that kind of a persistent type, attitude towards things where I can't really sit still until something is set.
Right, right, right.
Like I have a tough time relaxing which is a double-edged sword, man. You
Sure.
need to be able to relax sometimes, but I'm more relaxed now, and I see, how things work a little bit better, especially working with developers over there.
Cool.
But yeah, it's the focus comes naturally.
Nice. That's good. But when there are new challenges coming up, how do you? I mean, you said you like the challenges, but how do you respond to a challenge that is just unexpected? What's your first reaction? Is it like, damn, or is it like, yeah, I'm gonna do this?
It's a very good question.
Right.
Sometimes like, you're angry. You know what I mean? And then, but most of the when the challenges came like that, it's like, how do you fix it? What's the problem?
Right.
It's just, you go into like work mode or like fixing mode. Like, how do you fix this? Was this expected? If it's unexpected, then you're like, oh damn, like what to do next. But when you're in a situation like that, I mean, when you're developing something, when you start out like honestly a complete mess, and things are completely different, it started off like that. It was a total mess.
Right. Right.
So you get surprised less and less. And then as the project progresses, the things that you see are much smaller and easier to fix in that way. So it's like, can you get over this beginning? Do you have the guts to do the first couple of months of something like this?
Right. Right.
And then once that's done, like, you get used to it.
Yeah. Yeah. I think so, man.
Yeah.
But did you also have a mentor or someone who guided you through how to do all this, or?
No, I jumped in. I really jumped in. I
Right.
mean,
Right.
yeah, I would talk to a couple people here and there that were involved in like development or like marketing and things like that. But they were encouraging me to just go for it,
Right.
do it. Like
Yeah.
there's so much you can say about somebody who wants to pick up and move to Ukraine for a year and a half
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
try to
Yeah.
kind of a thing. So you just kind of do it. Um, and you learn a lot. Like there's a lot of legal, there's a lot of marketing. The legal stuff was quite a learning curve because, I had to do a lot of like contracts and things like that with a development company, terms of service, software licensing, like all this kind of a stuff. And that was for me, you need to be recommended a good lawyer, because that paying for a good lawyer is worth it tenfold, man.
Right.
Don't go cheap. Go for go for good legal, because that can come bite you later.
Yeah. Definitely, man. But what do you guys do in terms of marketing? Um, Yeah.
Man, that's a really good one because nothing really,
Right.
we work with, Rock Paper Scissors,
Hmm.
who are incredible, but as far as marketing, it's
How did you get involved with them? First of all, by the way,
what's that?
how did you get involved with rock paper scissors?
Yeah, so after I came back from Ukraine in like January 2019, so the first thing I wanted to do, like the one of my advisors said, do the trade shows, go to NAB, do this. So I wanted to start at South by Southwest actually, and just kind of get a feel for it because that convention it's definitely less corporate, less, more musicians are coming through, more people that are film interactive, and just hey, what's going on here? What do you have? So to get that like personal reaction would have been a great thing. So, and plus live music, and
Right.
the cool thing about South by Southwest is that they give you like, if you do the trade show, they give you a free platinum badge, right? So
Ah,
you
cool.
can do everything. So totally worth it.
Nice.
So I did that. And, I think Jade from Rock Paper Scissors came up. He's like, "What's going on here?" So we got,
Ah,
and I
cool.
went to school in Indiana and Bloomington, so we had that connection.
Cool,
So
man.
that was really cool, and I vibed really well with those guys. And
Mm.
I think a few months later, they helped us around the release time,
Right.
doing some article like placement and stuff like that, which was awesome. But as far as the marketing, like, it you have to balance. I think the need, and if you have a product or something where there's a whole bunch of noise and you're trying to penetrate
Mm.
the market, it's really tough. You need heavy marketing. But for us, like, especially when all this stuff hit and, when COVID hit in March, April, like people will seek you out,
Right.
easily. Like when you Google audio collaboration, like Soundwhale pops up,
Mm.
it's pretty good with our keywords and stuff like that. So
Yeah. Yeah.
it's,
That's a
and
perfect match.
yeah, and we're gonna make a heavy push with marketing coming up pretty soon. But for now, it's been all demand.
Right.
So we're kind of weighing the balance with the tech and the PR and stuff like that. So
Right. Yeah, because this is just my own experience.
mhm,
Because you can think you can have a really good idea and is a problem you're trying to solve. You've seen what people are saying. Like, you
mhm,
have all those steps. You've done all the steps, but then it all can come to an end because there's too few people, maybe. So you don't know
mhm.
if what that means. Does it mean it's shit? Does it mean it's just too few
Yeah.
people? So that
Mhm,
can be a really tricky thing.
mhm.
Well, but did you experience
It,
that as well, or it was just
you mean as far as users or
just
like
people? For example, on
interest?
yeah,
It, I mean, the trade shows gave us a lot of insight,
right, right,
a
right,
ton of insight. When companies that are huge companies are approaching you saying, "This is what we want."
right, right, right,
that
right, right.
that actually that was when you asked me before, like what motivated you.
Mm.
When I came back from Kiev, I was like, "How much push do I have left in me?" Right
Mm, mm.
after going through that, but that was it. When people like very large companies are coming up to you and saying, "We came to see you and this one other company,"
Wow,
it's like, wow, that's
that's
pretty cool.
yeah, that's a good validation.
Yeah, so that certainly helped. And then getting, at the conventions, having like lists for betas, people signing up, like getting hundreds of people sign up, like that's certainly something, that
Definitely, yeah.
gives you information to know that you have something there, I think.
Mm.
So that was our gauge of interest, I think.
Yeah, I mean that makes complete
Yeah.
sense, man.
Yeah.
But so with Soundwhale, I haven't tried it myself, but I think I heard you say you can. Maybe I'm wrong, but could so instead of me using Skype, for example, could I use Soundwhale to do everything at one go, or it's not there yet?
Yeah, yeah, you can. As far as like doing a video chat like this and recording
Hmm.
and stuff, and we're not, I don't want to give the video chat and video sharing, like the screen sharing and stuff. It could certainly be an improvement. It's not like using Zoom or Skype or something, but somebody that wants an all-in-one type thing, it'll work well. Like a lot of people are using it with Zoom and not doing the video chat inside of it. But
Right.
yeah, for sure, like we could do the video chat, record our podcast inside of it,
Mm.
discrete channels so you don't have any overlap, stuff like that.
That's
So
cool.
yeah, it's all in one. I mean, it's not, we wanted to differentiate between editing software and mixing software. It's like a bridge, you would
Mm.
use between another user and then your own studio setup, whether you have a bunch of analog stuff or Pro Tools or Ableton,
Mm-hmm.
you connect that to Soundwhale and stream it to the
Perfect.
other side
Yeah.
uncompressed. So
I mean that was something like that would save me shitloads of time.
Yeah.
I mean, because now I'm recording on what's it called? It's called Call Recorder on Skype. You know, it's $40. You
Oh.
then have to export the two files. And then I use ScreenFlow for some
Uh-huh.
reason,
Hmm.
and then bounce the audio down to Pro Tools, mix it, then go back to ScreenFlow, and then
Yeah.
bounce the whole thing. You know.
Yeah, I know how it is. I know that was part of the frustration, man. I wasn't
Right,
from the same setup
right, right,
before,
right,
so doing like voiceover sessions, connecting like a Pro Tools
right.
signal to Skype, so just so they can monitor some dropouts. It wasn't so comfortable,
Yeah, but then you can also use your plugins to some degree in Soundwhale, or
No, no, it's basically just for the collaborative portion.
right, right, right,
So it's again, like you would still have to bring it into Pro Tools if
right,
you
right,
wanted
right,
like
right.
a mix or like plugins or stuff like that. But right now it's being able to record. You can actually record directly into Pro Tools from Soundwhale too. Just like what we
Right.
have is like a nice patching system. So it routes every input and output in your studio, whether it's software or hardware, and sends it to the other side. So we could connect right now in Soundwhale, and I could send the signal right to Pro Tools directly. Also, a lot of people do it that way because they don't want to, do the transfers. But we wanted somewhat of a standalone app because what we want to do is reach out to more people that, aren't so well versed in audio engineering, or like clients, that need some kind of interface where they can audition files and do something quite easily like that too. So
That's awesome, man. I definitely need to check it out in more detail
yeah, yeah.
because it would save a lot of time.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, because time is one of those things, like that's probably why Amazon is so successful, I guess. Because I mean, just with you guys must have Fresh as well, right? Amazon Fresh.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah, I mean
Yeah,
that's just.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I mean, I don't want to go to the store anymore.
No, I know, man. And so it's just boom. Like I'm so busy with stuff, I click and I get what I
Yeah,
need. So it like in an hour,
exactly. I mean,
It's
just going to the store
crazy.
today, I was sweaty like hell coming back.
Right? Yeah, we're not used to that activity, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, I
I'm
know.
done with that.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, so that's cool, man. I mean, saving
Yeah.
people time is really
Yeah. Yeah.
valuable.
Hmm.
But so, what's your thoughts on AI and stuff? Is that something that will ever come into the to Soundwhale, or that's just completely different?
I mean, there's always a certain degree of AI and automation and stuff, but we at this point we're kind of limited in terms of we have to conform slightly because so many professionals are using certain things in certain ways.
Right.
But okay, yeah, we can use templates and things like this just to make it a one-click process, to do. So it depends on the level of AI and things you're talking about. But
Right.
man, like there's some really cool stuff now where you can, as far as speech recognition and and mastering and audio prints, we want to certainly at least partner with companies that are doing this kind of a stuff, because I think speech recognition has, being in voiceovers and stuff, like you want to be able to get to a point where transcriptions are flawless, and that would save people, like research companies, like how much R&D goes into this kind of
Right.
work, by big corporations. You'd save people a lot of time. Like speech recognition is something that needs to get there, I
Right.
think. So that's like a side project I'm thinking about also, just trying
Cool.
to get, it's and recognition, like when Shazam came out, you're like, wow, this is cool, doing all these, like, you recognize based on frequency, beat, like tempos and all this stuff. And there's a long way to go with this kind of stuff, man. So
Yeah.
yeah, certainly, like I would love to be involved, at least partner
Cool.
with somebody that's doing.
I
So
mean, yeah, AI is really fascinating,
yeah.
especially because also, uh, you know, uh, like in the music industry, I can imagine. I mean, that's also my. I'm like divided a bit. So I mean, I'm embracing AI.
Yeah.
I love everything with technology, how it saves time, etc.
Hmm.
And then there's also the part where like, oh, will it take our jobs? And
Hmm.
but that's also inevitable to some degree. Like
Hmm.
everything else gets automated. So
Hmm.
why should the music industry or film industry
Hmm.
not have jobs automated?
Hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, totally.
Uh,
I'm with you, man. Like if it works really well, then why not speed up the process and use jobs in a different way? There's always a way of growth. Automate jobs. I think there's always a way to put, manpower in certain places. So
Definitely.
yeah.
Yeah, we'll see what happens, man. It's exciting stuff, I
Mhm.
guess.
Mhm.
But so, what else is coming up with Soundwhale in the future? Then, is there any?
Oh man, it's crazy. It's so many things. I feel like, who can say that, like, actually all these companies that are in this space right now can say they're doing like specific developments and betas with huge studios,
Mm,
and like I feel that like the situation with COVID just pushed us into like a high speed, chase where you're chasing and developing and chasing and developing, man.
mm,
So, you're working with companies that are having certain feature requests. And then, we have like three different sections that we're working with. We definitely want to do more with security,
right.
and get to a point where it's, not going to be a non-issue. And then also multi-user stuff, and then also development with more core efficiencies, like
Mm-hmm.
more suitable for low speed connections, and just different environments. And you see that now with people from home in different environments that aren't standardized and
Mm,
things like that. So this has really given us so much on our plate.
right.
It's insane. Like, and we're a small but fierce team. Like, we work really really fast. So I it's just super exciting right now,
Mm,
just to see the results, and oh, this is working.
mm.
It's getting to that point. And I think within a few months we're going to be at a point where it's going to be so smooth, and everything, it's going to be working on high level stuff. So
Awesome, man.
yeah.
But how does that thing work, like with low latency? Because isn't there so many variables you cannot control, or how do you get
Yeah,
around that?
I mean, exactly. You have data transmission, right?
Yeah.
So you have obviously the speed of the connection, and then what most people don't realize is there's jitter too.
Right.
So basically, you're working at gigabit speeds.
Sure.
However, if that speed is not consistent, your data transmission is going to move
Hmm.
back and forth. And like, you need to have proper timestamps in place for synchronization. You need many things that offsets this, but it still adds a little bit of time.
Hmm.
So you need good compression. You need, many things to offset this kind of stuff. You need, even your CPU is going to vary from person to person.
Right.
So your buffer sizes and are going to be different,
Right. Right.
and all these different, you have a buffer size like in Ableton and Pro Tools, but you also have a buffer size of your stream that you're sending
Right.
to the other side, and all this stuff comes into play. So we have like a latency adjustment feature,
Hmm.
where, okay, we have a certain, like YouTube and like all these other streaming services, they have like buffering, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I wait a couple seconds, then I can play. So
Hmm.
we have like a sliding scale of a buffer. We start off with a slight amount of latency, but if you have a good connection with low jitter, you can drop that down and have pretty good speeds. I mean, I can't, you know, we're not jamming software. I want to be very clear about that. It's mainly for like working remotely.
Hmm.
So
Right. Right.
so
Right.
in that, you
Right.
know what I mean? So in
Yeah.
that, like, even though people in the same city or state could jam with it, like, I don't want to say that,
Right. Right. Right.
or advocate that kind of in any way. But yeah, like, latency has many factors, man. And then again, like with all this data that we're getting,
Hmm.
we can see like different environments like way faster than we could have if remote was not such a necessity at this point. Like, we have a lot of users writing us, and
Hmm.
you know we're trying to accommodate all these changes and needs based on stuff we don't normally see so fast.
Right.
And plus with audio is different because you don't you have so many different elements at play, man. You have your DAW, you have software, you have audio interfaces, um, you have all this other stuff patched to it. You have MIDI.
Hmm.
I mean, there's a lot of components, man,
Hmm.
and not to mention, like, operating systems, CPUs, connections. Oh my god, man, it's it drives me nuts. It's
Yeah.
crazy.
I can imagine.
Yeah.
But so, I mean, when 5G comes, I mean, you guys must be thrilled about 5G, I
Oh,
guess.
that was the whole like placement timing of this,
Right. Right.
because
Right.
it's coming, and it's going to really revolutionize this
But
for
where
us.
do you think
So
we will be with 5G? I mean, it will take a few years, right? From this
yeah,
point.
yeah. I mean, there's claims of 5G, then there's real 5G.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
there's uniformity of 5G in every place, so certain areas will get it. And what's the point of one person having it when the other
Yeah.
person doesn't? So it'll be a few years out.
But what do
I'm
you think is
guessing.
going to happen, for example, to Soundwhale then? Like, what's the capabilities with 5G? I mean, that must reduce latency a lot, I guess.
Oh man, it's just going to be a really smooth, uniform process. We're trying to get there now with the limitations. So by the time that takes off, we'll be seeing a lot of multi-channel, multi-connection, very smooth. Like it'll be, basically steroids with what it is right now. It's going to be really incredible to see, and people using it in a way that you're never going to need to leave your place.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Maybe you can jam then, I guess, with 5G.
Yeah, perhaps. Yeah, you'll have at least a way to get consistency, with that kind of way. So there'll be a lot of ways to work around that latency to have consistency.
But
Yeah.
I mean, to use Soundwhale now, does it require a lot of CPU or just RAM or anything from your computer?
No, I mean we test on really bad computers and very bad environments. Not necessarily by choice.
Right.
Because developing in Ukraine was a challenge. We would connect. I mean, there was pretty much dial-up speeds.
Wow. Yeah.
So our compression's pretty good. We got it down pretty low. Quality's pretty good on it too. CPU, we're testing on pretty old machines, but some people that have that kind of an old machine might have like fragmented hard drives or or some other issue involved with it too. So but we do test on slower speeds and lower machines. Like I think somebody had a Mac Pro from 2009 that we got it working on.
Oh, cool.
But somebody else had one that it wouldn't work on. So it depends. Depends on your graphics processor. We use Metal in our graphics for the recording, So, and I think that came out in 2011.
Right.
So, there's a few limitations there, but yeah, we want to make sure it works for musicians, that don't need to upgrade all their systems and plugins and stuff. So
yeah, that's perfect, man.
Yeah.
I mean, it's been a pleasure. I mean, it's really exciting. Technology is always exciting to see where it's going.
Yeah.
But maybe before we wrap up, you can let the listeners know where they can find more stuff about Soundwhale, about you, all that cool stuff.
Yeah, I mean, there's, you can Google Soundwhale and read about it. You can go to the website and kind of see generally what it does. Glance at the manual for sure, because it's not, when you're dealing with complicated workflows, you need a lot of features to work with those. So, you can get deep, like, setting your frame rates and offsets. We didn't even talk about post-production.
Yeah.
So that's a whole nother thing, man, where you have a lot of complicated stuff, that you need to make sure you're in tune with, because with post-production workflows, you have you have a lot of stuff going on, especially with Pro Tools, that you have to, set your MIDI time codes and your synchronizations, and you should just read about it in the manual, or there's some videos on YouTube too that you can kind of see generally how it works. We wanted to do something for musicians too, so the free version is streaming. It's free for people that just want to work together and check it out, but we have a couple of packages. So
the free version, that means you can not jam, obviously, like we said, but you can, what can you do with that free version then?
You can hook up Pro Tools or your DAW and stream it to somebody else so they can hear it and communicate and work with you. Cool. But there's another package for recording, which if you want to record, like people doing voiceovers and stuff like that, they have to pay a little bit. And then the last most robust package is the synchronization, the post-production package, where you're working with film and TV and stuff. So
right. Cool, man. And that's all on soundwhale.com, I guess, then.
Yeah.
Awesome, man. Well, I mean, it was a pleasure. Thank you for coming on. And I'll be on the lookout to see what happens in the next few months.
Great. It's really nice to meet you. Yeah.
You too, man. Thank you, Ameen, for coming on. It was a pleasure talking to you, and hope you, the listener, enjoyed it as well. Again, feel free to subscribe to the YouTube channel, Apple Podcast, and Spotify, or wherever you are listening to this show. Also, It would be great if you want to join the Audio Tribe. It's free. There's a link to that in the description below. Just enter your name and email address and you can get exclusive access to interviews before the public, be a part of the conversation, and be able to ask questions to up-and-coming guests, and much more that I'd like to do for you in the future as I grow this channel with your help. But that's it for this week. Love having you here as usual. I'll see you guys soon again.